Greetings, everybody, and welcome once again to my home shared office and my dog squeaking a toy. But welcome to Red Dwarf Rewatch with your host, Dr. John. We are now on episode 2 of Red Dwarf Series 5, and we are now at The Inquisitor, directed by Juliet May and Rob Grant and Doug Naylor, and written, of course, by Rob Grant and Doug Naylor. This is part of that slow phasing out of Juliet May, unfortunately. And this episode was released on 27th of February, 1992. The Inquisitor is a time-traveling android, or simulant, who acts as judge, jury, and executioner, and those he deems to have led worthless lives, and thus erases them from history. The Red Dwarf crew are next to appear before the judge to justify their existence. It does not look good for our crew of slobs, failures, and misfits. Pretty well noted there. You kind of know they're in it, and Rimmer, of course, voices our concern. Planet Outpost, the Inquisitor jumps in, judges a man by the name of Thomas Alvin, wipes out all life and memory of him from the universe, of course removing him from the problem of causality, and giving his life force to another person version of basically him, who never had a chance to live. He says all will be judged, and then erases him once he's removed him from the timeline. So we get to see his process. He removes you from the timeline in a field, and then destroys your physical form. The new guy in the room, all of a sudden he says, "Sorry, sir, to bother you, reality control." Now we find the crew on Starbug. We find out Lister is reading Virgil's Aeneid, the comic book version. They end up talking about the whole Trojan horse. Lister thinks it's absolutely ridiculous. Rimmer says it's one of the greatest military movers, and he goes on this hyperbole about 500 men in bathroom facilities and how they didn't think this through. He said, "People that stupid deserve it. Beware of Greeks bearing gifts," as he notes as a phrase coming from this time. And of course, he then said Trojans are just smegheads. Then there's a jolt. Holly comes on, reveals to them that the ship has been taken over. They've done a turnaround. They're going back to Red Dwarf. All of a sudden, we hear the Inquisitor's voice speaking through Lister's body like he's getting electrocuted. Crichton seems to have some familiarity with him, and they apparently are about to have to justify their existence. Crichton tells the crew basically this sort of campfire and horror story of the myth or legend of this Inquisitor. Tells them that legend of a self-repairing simulant. I feel like I should just dim this down. It's like fireplace, who survived to the end of the universe. Find out there's no God, no afterlife. Now he travels back to judge souls who wasted life and delete them, because he comes to the conclusion that that's the only thing worth living. There is no afterlife. You must live a self-worthwhile life. He prunes the worthless, and at this point, Rimmer gets scared. He knows they are in trouble. The whole crew then starts to finally realize they're in trouble, but Lister is very defiant. He's not into this judgment. And then the idea, basically, the proposition will be, have you lived a worthwhile life? That is the proposition you must answer. This is the only criteria. And everything Crichton says basically is further depressing Rimmer, further and further and further. Lister remains defiant. The Inquisitor jumps back into his body to threaten him, and of course, like, what is he going to do to us? Like, I can destroy you. Oh, okay. They get on there, and then they're walking through the corridors, and the Inquisitor reveals himself in this bright, blinding light. He takes Rimmer to be judged first. Asks him to prove why he should have deserved this second chance as a hologram. He opens his visor, of course, and underneath it is Rimmer, or a version of him. He has to be judged by himself, for which Rimmer says, "Oh, smeg." Immediately gets called a liar, and it's very Knights of Ni from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I love it. And it's mainly the costume. And he says, "Liar!" Rimmer's only defense is that his life sucked. He then leaves. Cat comes in, again to be judged by himself. His contribution apparently is he has a beautiful ass. And the Inquisitor goes, "Is that your case?" He says, "I'm a pretty shallow guy." And he gets sent off. Crichton is next, and Crichton has lived a selfless life. But he then reveals it's all his programming. Only breaking program could make it matter, where he then would have some free will and choice. He's not human, nor is the Inquisitor, and he kind of calls him out for judging people. Lister is the final member to come from it. And the Inquisitor version of him says, "Get out of this one, smeghead." Could have made something of your life. Only response is no, he's defiant. Okay? Inquisition is over. 2 have failed to pass. All of a sudden, Rimmer and Cat disappear. Lister is like, what the hell? He deleted them. He's like, no, they passed, actually. Then Crichton and Lister are set to be erased. They've apparently squandered their potential in life. They're trapped in a field. This is where they're being removed from time. The timelines have knitted back together. They're in chains, too. Last second, they're like talking. Crichton has no plan. All of a sudden, another Crichton, this one from the future, appears behind the Inquisitor, cuts off the Inquisitor's arm, and then steals the little time portal gauntlet. And then basically they're being rescued. But the Inquisitor then kills that Crichton while distracting him and explaining what he's doing there. And he says, before you get the final confrontation, you have to decode the gauntlet. And his last words are E-N-I-G, Ingig. In chains now, K and L start running. They can't get through the door because they did not exist, and therefore their passcodes and their signature prints are not in the system. Holly initiates a security protocol lockdown. Then Cat and Rimmer show up with bazookoids. They don't remember them again. They're limbo people now. And to convince them, basically Lister tries to go through all the things he knows about Rimmer. Talks about Viola Barrington, his dad's greenhouse, some little hanky-panky, names all these personal details. He's kind of convinced when the new Crichton and Lister show up. Take them in, and while they decide to end up arresting them. Then they get attacked by the Inquisitor in the elevator. He obliterates the new Crichton and the new Lister. And then Lister appears to take something off the ground. They didn't think, okay, let's go steal Starbug, we'll try to escape. And it turns out he took the other Lister's hand in order to access the doors. And he tells Crichton to turn around, and Crichton's like, logically, there's only way you can open that door. And he is absolutely disgusted by all of this. He's like, ew. They get into Starbug, they're trying to break the chains. They think they're going to fail. But already see K will die. Does this so he thinks Lister will survive. And Lister realizes that he helped Crichton break his programming, made him more human. In fact, he's finding justification for Crichton to stay alive. And a weird kind of parallelism here. Lister realizes that Crichton's lying to him because his right leg is jiggling and he's up and down like this, and his whole body starts shaking. They're trying to figure out cause and effect. They figure out the word is Enigma when Crichton realizes it looks like a code of the Enigma, and it's an Enigma code from World War II. Cat and Rimmer finally arrive at Starbug, and they're going to all join forces. They prepare for the final confrontation. Lister has a plan. He's going to use his brains, growth, take the gauntlet, going to kill the Inquisitor. Or at least he will, because Crichton can't. Found in the cargo bay, when the Inquisitor locates them, he eliminates the Rimmer and Cat. Crichton calls out the codes, and then basically this causes the Inquisitor and him to get into a shootout. At one point, the Inquisitor makes him Lister young and then old, and then distracts him long enough for Lister to shoot him, locking him in a stasis field. Yeah, I know. They exchange gauntlets, and they realize that there's a causality that Crichton has to now go through by sacrificing himself to make things work out and not create a paradox. He says, today has been a real bummer. But there is a plan, apparently, so Crichton jumps back. Lister takes the Inquisitor's body and dangles him over a drop. He sets fire to a rope holding him up and says, you bet your life I won't kill you. And then he saves him. And the Inquisitor's why? And he thinks he's beaten causality, because if he kills him now, he won't be there to save him, but then gives him the gauntlet back. And the Inquisitor says, though, if you never existed at all, I wouldn't have gotten myself in this situation. But of course, he's booby-trapped the gauntlet. And it backfires on him, and he sends him off to oblivion. Undoes all his work. Crichton reappears. Rimmer and Cat reappears. The time-space is reordering itself. Crichton then says, I think this is where you're supposed to give me an obligatory high five. He says, I can do better than that. How about 15? And he's had 2 other dead hands. Oh my God. But next time, folks, we move on to episode 3, Terrorform, which is fun. I'm actually looking forward to episode 4, Quarantine. That's the fun one. So keep an eye out for that one. But thank you for joining us here on our Not Funny Guys present Red Dwarf Rewatch. We're going to keep chugging along here, but I want to know how you guys are feeling about things. You want me to do something different? You want more information? I am open to that, but you got to contact me. You can contact me through the socials and the links below in the description, or you can contact me in the email that you should now be getting crawling across the screen. Probably that way. Yeah. Notfunnyguys.offthereels@gmail.com. My dog, I don't know if you can hear that. My dog is squeaking. But that's where I want you to write us, tell us. And not only can you tell us about this show and what you want to see maybe we do next, but you can also check out any of our other programs as well. And we've got 3 other podcasts that we can check out. So notfunnyguys.offthereels@gmail.com. All right. And speaking of those other things, of course, we have our main podcast where we talk about movies. We're currently running through Star Wars, and Casey's trying to name off all the sci-fi series that are better than that. We've already done, we're doing chronological order in universe. So we've done the prequels. So we did episode 1, The Phantom Menace, episode 2, Attack of the Clones, episode 3, we did Revenge of the Sith. Then we moved on to Solo, a Star Wars story, followed by Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Now, we then moved on to the main original trilogy. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. And then by the time you're seeing this, we will have Episode 7, The Force Awakens, leaving us with only 2 more to go. So that'll be coming up in the following weeks. And then I don't know what we'll be doing after that, but you should come listen, hang out. We do news, we do a library, because we believe in reading. Read banned books, folks. And then we talk about the episode. And my son, my oldest son, who's a Star Wars fanatic, jumps in to talk as well. But if that's not your cup of tea, and you are more of a horror movie person, and Casey and Eric, and you may see some in the feed here on the YouTube channel, they have another podcast called Wrestling with the Horror of It All, where they talk about horror movies and pro wrestling. That's their main thing. So they've got stuff up there, and if that's not your cup of tea, I do another podcast with our not funny gal, Dr. Kristen, called Thinking About For You Guys Present Thinking About Thinking, where we talk episodes about all kinds of things, AI, teaching, academics, sci-fi. We get a little into some of that stuff. Anything literature, anything we're thinking about. So if you want something short but a little academic based, that's what we do over there. Dog, I don't know if you can hear that. She's squeaking her brain out. Okay, yeah. All right. But like I said, please come back and join us. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Spread the word. Talk to us. Let us know what you want to see. We're open to advice. But in the meantime, keep it not funny. Don't be a smeghead. And we'll see you next time.